Good morning, and welcome to the October 12th, 2021 regular school board meeting, which I now call to order. This morning, our invocation will be given by Rabbi Joshua Lobel from Temple B'nai Israel in Clearwater. It will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Vice Chairman Mrs. Long, and the national anthem performed by the Hollins High School Chorus under the direction of Chelsea Getner. The chorus will also perform a second song that will be introduced by their director. Please stand. And welcome, Rabbi. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. My name is Rabbi Joshua Lobel, and I serve Temple B'nai Israel in Clearwater, a congregation affiliated with the Union for Reform Judaism. Thank you so much for inviting me to give this morning's invocation. In the book of Proverbs, we read, "Train a child in the way they ought to go. They will not swerve from it, even in old age." This verse reflects the responsibility we all share to educate our young people, providing them a solid foundation for the future. What our students learn today will help shape their tomorrows. We are planting seeds here, and it will be our privilege to watch them blossom. Therefore, it is our role as individuals who care deeply for learning to ensure that we create the best educational program possible for our kids, giving them the ability to reach for the highest of heights. With this shared vision in our minds and in our hearts, let us pray. O God, teacher and guide of all humanity, you have blessed us with wisdom, discernment, and intellectual curiosity. As we begin this meeting, let us use these skills along with our patience, courage, and compassion as we come together to work for the benefit of the students of Pinellas County and their parents. Let us strive to uplift and support our administrators and our teachers, all who work with our students to help them along their educational journey. May we remember to speak with respect and kindness, never anger and hostility, especially when we disagree. Let the decisions made here today reflect a shared desire to do what is best for our learners and for their families, keeping their best interests at heart. May our work here together be pleasing in your sight. Together we say, Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ran on flares, the bombs bursting gave through the night.
Thank you so much for having us here today. This is Holland's High School Chorus, or 9 of our members. Our next piece that we're going to be performing for you is called Will the Circle Be Unbroken? It's a traditional Appalachian song, and we're really excited to perform it. Before we get there, I also wanted to inform you guys that it is one of our tenor's birthdays. So I know that she's very excited, Anna over there, to come out and get some time away from school to sing for you all.
Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting if we try, Lord, if we try. I was singing with my sisters and my brothers. I was singing with my friends. And we all can sing together. 'Cause the circle never ends. Will the circle be unbroken? Oh, by and by, Lord, by and by. There's a better home awaiting if we try, Lord, if we try. I was born down in the valley where the sun refused to shine. But I'm climbing up to the highland, gonna make that mountain mine. Will the circle be unbroken? By and by, Lord, by and by. There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. In the sky, my Lord, sky.
There you go. Thank you. And thank you, Rabbi Lobel, and the Hollands Chorus, and Ms. Gettner. Thank you very much. And Anna, happy birthday. Good. Thank you very much. All right. Career and technical education is an important part of Pinellas County schools and their programming. Recently, middle school students had the opportunity to visit Pinellas Technical College for Manufacturing Day, and also Chemco Solutions, a local water and energy solutions company. So let's meet some of the students and teachers who participated in this beneficial event.
The first Friday in October has been deemed Manufacturing Day. What we're doing here at Pinellas Technical College is we're trying to introduce students from East Lake Middle School and Largo Middle School to the concept of what manufacturing is all about, and also present them with the opportunities that are available. And here at Pinellas Technical College, that's what we do, is we provide students with the skills they'll need to go out and get an outstanding career. So today the students are going to 3 different areas. This area here has 10 different programs. Behind me is automotive, we have diesel, we have our computer systems, information technology, we have welding, we have all the traditional trades. And then they're going to go over to the culinary area where they're going to see our chefs in action. We have practical nursing there. There'll be a gurney with a patient, a dummy patient that actually talks. It's amazing.
And I wanted them to see more world connection to what we do in the classroom, so they can get a better idea of the tradespeople that are out there and all the really cool stuff that's out here at Pinellas Technical College. It's amazing, and right now this reminds me a lot of the engineering expos.
Today is so cool because we get to learn more exciting things to kind of inspire us. So far, the coolest thing I've seen is probably coding. I've done it when I was younger, so it's kind of fun to relive that moment.
It's cool because I get to learn more about tech, and tech is probably one of my favorite things to learn about.
One of our groups, our Largo Middle School students, are going to break off from here, and they're going to head over to Chemco Systems.
Welcome to Manufacturing Day 2021. For us, it's an opportunity to share the great career that can be made in the manufacturing environment. And the manufacturing is not just the process of doing hands-on. It includes everything from sales to accounting to supply chain and engineering and shipping and receiving and logistics and every element of what we do. So very encouraging of students looking at these career options that many times pass them by.
So I think it's really important for those students to see what goes on hands-on field trips like this, because it makes them a little bit more interested in what is offered out there for them, and it also helps them see it firsthand.
Today I learned how to forge metals and pressures of water and how fast it can fill something up. I learned a lot of new things working in a place like this, and how to handle it without getting hurt, and how the precautions are.
It makes my job easier as an AVID teacher because this is the kind of curriculum that I go over, and it kind of reinforces the things that I talk about in class as far as career and college readiness goes, that you don't have to go to college. If there is another outlet that you are willing to explore, there are things like technical school and trade schools that you can reach your dreams.
And we thank companies like Chemco who will bring our students in, because it's such a wonderful opportunity for our students to be able to see how what they're learning actually moves forward and plays out in the real world. All right, we have the introductions of professional and community organization representatives with Isabel Mascarenas, our public information officer.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Grego, and staff. It is my pleasure to introduce the following representatives of community and professional organizations. From the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association, we have Nancy Velarde, President. From the Pinellas Arts for a Complete Education Coalition, we have Tara Schulman from the ACE Steering Committee. There are no members of the media in attendance this morning. Today we have a presentation from the Student Rights and Responsibility Committee. Please welcome Trinity Sevier and Robert Nolden from Hollins High School and their principal, Robert Florio.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Robert.
And I'm Trinity.
And we are the president and vice president at Hollins High, as well as the representatives for Students' Rights and Responsibilities. First, we want to start off by thanking you, the school board, and our administrative team and teachers at Hollins High, and Dr. Superintendent Greg.
Despite the challenges of the last couple of years, we are happy to announce that Hollins High School is a growing and thriving school community. At Hollins, we have rebranded and moved forward with our mascot, the lion, as we make positive and necessary changes that are reflective of the student body and the community. We believe we are poised and prepared to take the Royals into the 21st century as we make positive and long-lasting contributions for our community and beyond.
The transition from being online to in-person has definitely been beneficial for our school. Student involvement has been up since last year, as it is easier to be involved when everyone is in person. Our attendance for school activities has been amazing. Our football game attendance is much better compared to last year, since the stands are able to have a higher capacity rather than last year when there was a cap on the number of spectators. Those attending also have more school spirit than last year, as they are returning to the games. They are wearing school shirts and shirts that our football players recently sold for a fundraiser. We recently had a game where we had a blue out, and our stadium did not fail to rep our school color. We'd like to extend our thanks to the school board for allowing us to return and get back to normal.
As the student body, we have continued to look for unique ways to make sure every student gets and continues to have a great high school experience. With the challenges at hand, our school has managed to carry out safe activities that our students have enjoyed while being safe. More students are joining clubs at a very rapid rate. They are more involved than ever. The classes are raving about the events we are holding, as we just had an outdoor movie night on the field to raise money for the school, and we sold out of the tickets. Since the movie night was such a success, we are having another one in December, and the students can't stop talking about it.
Our school has a food pantry that is partnered with Feeding Tampa Bay to provide bags of food for our families each week. On average, we help 60 families. Our school is a Title I school, is very beneficial for our students. We also have a clothing closet where we provide clothes for students in need at our school.
Our principal, Robert Florio's main goal is student involvement, so he has recently had a student center put at our school. It's a place for students to get together, do homework, and eat lunch. He has also started to reconstruct our courtyard as a beautification and attempt to bring the students at Hollins together. We also have a program, the AEA program, which has continued their program with the three things, which is the project, the show, and the game. And they are making a film for their project that they are going to try to enter into competitions that are local, state, and national. And we're hoping that they win, and all of us are cheering for them. And they also are going to put on a live show and also make a game that they are going to put out for students at Hollins to download and play and see how that goes, and maybe even expand it out to more.
Our school also has an Interact Club, which is anti-bullying. Recently, one of our students won Student of the Month, and last week we had Start With Hello, which a lot of the students participated in.
Our graduation rate has stayed the tide with last year at 97%. Our school grade was considerably better than expected. Our Cambridge diploma rate was 70%, which is incredible considering our teachers were teaching simultaneously.
My experience at Hollins High has been great, and I'm very happy that I decided to go there and participate in the Cambridge program, because it's such an amazing, diverse community of students and teachers.
My experience has also been great, and I don't think I would have chosen any other school to be part of. It is great to be a part of all the clubs and the sports that they provide for us, and it's just outstanding overall.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Two very good endorsements. Thank you. Good. Mr. Florio, would you kind of wave your hand? And the chorus and the speakers today both came from there. They made you proud, didn't they? There you go. And thank you for sharing them with us. All right, let's look down now at the agenda. Dr. Grego, are there any changes or amendments to the agenda?
There are two amendments to the agenda, Madam Chair. One is at 7:08. On page 1, I pulled the contract with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Suncoast. I want for further discussion with them and to refine that contract. You will see it again. And the second is, in addition to the agenda, non-consent agenda item 8.06. And this is the request approval of the COVID sick leave pay memorandum for the MOU with SEIU, the Fraternal Order Police, and the FPSU. So Ms. Texel will explain that agenda item. It will be under the non-consent agenda.
Okay,
That
very
concludes
good.
the amendments.
And I find good cause to add item 8.6, which changes the COVID leave policy for SEIU, FOP, and our non-represented groups. Any other items for board members? Anything that needs to be pulled? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the amended agenda.
I motion.
Okay, Mrs. Long made the motion. Do we have a second? And Ms. Hines seconded it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All righty, and it passes 7-0. The very first thing that we're going to move into in our special order is a presentation of the proclamation recognizing School Bus Safety Week. Do we have a motion to adopt the proclamation?
I move.
All righty. Mrs. Long, anyone else? Second? All right, Ms. Cocaine seconded it. Dr. Grego.
Madam Chair, and to the general public, there couldn't be a more important topic. You know, each year I start the school year off at our bus compounds, and I plead with the community to please be aware of the safety aspects of buses being on the roads, the time it takes, and also the importance, and as you see the theme this year with Be Safe, Know the Danger Zone, and that is the proper techniques and proper laws of stopping when those arms come out. Those buses are big, they have bright red lights, it's hard to miss them. So, but still in this community and communities throughout the state of Florida and the United States, we have people neglecting those laws. So the timing of this is so important, the National School Bus Safety Week. So, and I also want to say a huge thanks to T. Mark Hagewood, who heads up our Transportation Department. Very difficult job this year, as all years, but especially this year. So, T. Mark.
Thank you, Dr. Grego.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Grego, and staff. Florida joins other states across our country to observe National School Bus Safety Week for the week of October 18th through 22nd. And as Dr. Grego said, the theme this year is Be Safe and Know the Danger Zone. Each year, our school buses in Pinellas County travel about 9 million miles to take thousands of students to and from school daily. We also perform about 3,000 extracurricular activities like field trips and sports activities. They travel in a 10-ton vehicle and carry up to 65 students each year. However, the school bus is considered the safest vehicle around, and is the safest vehicle in our overall transportation plan. Please join me and the 15,000 school bus operators on the roads of Florida in observance of National School Bus Safety Week.
Good, thank you. And Dr. Carr, would you please read the proclamation?
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you to all of our bus drivers. I think it was important to note how much we value our bus drivers during the pandemic, those 9 weeks that we were not running routes. We still valued those individuals and maintained their salary. And when the governor acknowledged that folks needed to be recognized for such a difficult year with a bonus, we agreed that all staff should be acknowledged and bonused our school bus drivers at the same rate. So I'm really grateful to be a part of this board that recognizes the value of our bus drivers monetarily wherever possible, and I hope we'll continue to meet their needs as they've expressed them to us frequently. So National School Bus Safety Week. Be safe, know the danger. Whereas the health and safety of all students is essential to the happiness and well-being of families, teachers, and communities. And whereas the exemplary safety performance exhibited each day by almost 15,000 school bus operators on Florida roads ensures the highest level of safety for other motorists and student riders. And whereas students are 70 times more likely to get to school safely when taking a school bus instead of traveling by car. And whereas school buses provide the most and sometimes only reliable form of transportation to and from school, which promotes attendance and punctuality and encourages better student achievement. And whereas motorists must remember to stop when a school bus has stopped with its stop arms extended and red lights flashing. And whereas school bus transportation employees should be recognized for their diligence in safely transporting the children of Pinellas County. Local organizations are encouraged to support student and traffic safety activities associated with School Bus Safety Week. And everyone is reminded to keep a watchful eye for students going to and from school and take extra precautions around students and school buses. And now, therefore, the Pinellas County School Board hereby recognizes National School Bus Safety Week during the week of October 18th to 22nd, 2021.
Very good, thank you. All right. We have a motion and a second to adopt the proclamation. So all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. It passes 7-0. You're going to see in the next agenda item that safety is very important. to our bus drivers and what they do. One of the things that Mr. Dudley and I have seen as we serve on the School Transportation Safety Committee with the county is that people are not only passing buses on the left-hand side where the arm is extended, they are actually passing the buses on the right-hand side where students are getting off the bus. The legislature in this last session increased the fines for that to happen. You know, and that's a good deterrent. However, that does not save the lives of children. So we're asking the people, please pay attention and do their part. Our bus drivers are doing everything they can, but do your part and make sure that you're honoring and respecting those laws. So thank you. So with that little tangent, I will move on to the recognition of school bus drivers with safe driving records. Dr. Grego.
Yeah, Madam Chair and school board members, I too want to add my comments to Dr. Carr's, and I know this entire school board, for thanking bus drivers, not only those 62 or plus that we'll be recognizing today with over 10 years and some over 20 years. If you think about your own driving record, not that I want to delve into it, but if you think about it, it's a long time, 20 years, and the difficulty of driving a very large vehicle on the road, especially with the congestion of Pinellas County. The safe driving record is truly remarkable. So, and I'm speaking about any minor infraction. So it is good, and I want to thank the board for taking the time to recognize these folks and to say thank you for what you do, and to all of our bus drivers for what they do every day. T-Mark?
Yes, sir. Thank you. As Dr. Grego mentioned, we do have 62 drivers out of our 350 drivers that have over 10 years of safe driving. We have 12 drivers that have over 20 years of safe driving. Normally I bring them to the board with me, but today they're still busy running their routes, so I decided that I would just read their names today. So we have 5 drivers that have over 20 years. That's Gary Smith, Tiffany Roshin, Sue Pond, Marcus Hart, and Annie Bethune-Walker. We have 4 drivers that have 22 years of safe driving. That's LaShang Simmons, Deborah Jones, Valita Jackson, and Terrell Drayton. We have 3 other drivers. Calandra Jones has 22 years of safe driving. Stephanie Holmes has 27 years of safe driving. And Mr. Charlie Russell has 28 years of safe driving, which is amazing. And so I just wanted to mention that. And then we're also having a safe driver luncheon. We're going to do it a little differently this year. We're going to have a drive-through at Walter Pinnell Service Center, and Food and Nutrition is helping us with a goodie bag. We're going to have a lunch for them, and they're going to drive by, and we're going to give them their lunch, and they're going to continue on their route. And I did want to mention one other driver. He has 15 years of safe driving. His name is Rufus Woodard, and he has 37 years with the district, and he's going to be retiring in a couple of weeks. And so I did want to mention him, 37 years.
Thank you. That's
Thank you.
awesome. Tremendous. We appreciate that service as well. Good. All right. We'll move on to the next item, a presentation of the proclamation designating October 2021 as LGBTQ History Month. Do we have a motion? Okay, Dr. Carr and Mrs. Long. Dr. Grego.
Yes, to announce this proclamation, call on, she's already at the microphone, Donna Sicilian and Lisa DiPaolo, the Manager of Prevention Office, and Donna Sicilian, Director of Student Services. And to really say to the board, thank you for the character development and caring for all students. This is an extremely important proclamation because one of your core values as a district and the board is to nurture and care all students. So thank you. Donna?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Grego, school board members and staff. We appreciate this opportunity to do this proclamation that recognizes LGBTQ plus History Month in October of 2021. Research and our experience tells us that students who identify with the LGBTQ plus community are at a much higher risk for issues such as bullying, suicide ideation, substance abuse and misuse, and a number of other factors. So we do appreciate this board, our community, programs such as Equality Florida and other community partners that do a lot of work, Sandy Hook Promise, in keeping all of our students safe. And in particular this month, we want to have this proclamation that recognizes the history and those that went before us, as well as Mrs. DiPaolo and her team in the prevention office that stand currently working diligently to keep all students and all students and staff safe. That's a lot of S's in one word for someone whose last name is Sicilian. So I thank you for this opportunity, and we bring before you the proclamation this morning.
Thank you, Donna.
Very good, thank you. All right, Mrs. Long, would you please read the proclamation?
LGBTQ History Month 2021. Whereas the LGBTQ History Month was created in 1994 by a high school teacher in Missouri named Rodney Wilson. And whereas the LGBTQ History Month reminds our community of the lasting contributions people have made to strengthen our society. And whereas this month we recognize our commitment to the struggle for equal rights for all students and educators. And whereas Pinellas County Schools will continue to educate, support, and provide resources to promote a safe learning environment for all students and educators. And whereas all students and educators have the right to attend school in a safe and inclusive environment free from harassment or discrimination, where they can reach their full potential. Now, therefore, we, the Pinellas County School Board, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as the LGBTQ History Month.
Very good, thank you.
And Mrs. Cook, may I say that
Yes.
over the years of teaching, I've had a lot of students that in middle school where this first starts, where they're trying to figure out who they are. It's difficult to watch them as they struggle. Many times their families turn their backs against them, they lose friends, and for us to be aware and to try to stand up and help these individuals, it gives them an opportunity at life that we don't want to see children committing suicide. We don't want to see children bullied. And this is a wonderful way that we can support and help them until they do figure out their path in life. So I really am proud of the school board for taking all children into consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second to adopt the proclamation designating October 2021 as LGBTQ History Month. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. We have our next item is for public comment. Members of the public have 3 opportunities to address the board when we gather for our meeting. The first opportunity to speak is during our public comments on agenda items. The next opportunity is where we have a public hearing, most of which are policies. And lastly, after the meeting is adjourned. We will remain for public participation when speakers may address items pertaining to the business of the district. At each opportunity for input, board members are here to listen. This is not a time for discussion or debate. We will not take any formal action on information brought forward unless it is pertaining to an agenda item. However, the board and the superintendent may clarify or refer the speaker to the proper staff person to help work through the concerns. The board is committed to a standard of civility and decorum in the conduct of its meetings. So whether you agree or disagree with a viewpoint expressed by speakers, please refrain from showing audible support or disagreement. We also ask that you assist us in maintaining a civil and constructive environment by confining your comments to the business of the district and refrain from profanity or intemperate or rude comments. Thank you. Mrs. Haupt, do we have speakers on agenda items?
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I just want to clarify something because there were some speakers to agenda item 4.3.
Okay.
But I just want to clarify to the public that the opportunity to speak to agenda items does not include the special order agenda, and that is allowed by policy and law. And so that is why it is a special order agenda. These proclamations are not allowed to be spoken upon by the public by law or by our policy. And so this is the time where we are now, where the public is to speak on consent and non-consent.
Right.
So for those who spoke up to 4.3, signed up to speak, that is why you were not called.
Okay.
You do have the opportunity to
And-
speak after the meeting if you'd like to.
I was just going to
And
say
since
that.
I have the floor, I will also mention to the board and to the public, there are several speakers for item 7.8, which is the purchasing agenda item. And so I would ask that the members of the public, when you come up, to specify which bid it is to which you are speaking. Thank you.
All right, good, thank you. And I also was going to clarify their opportunity would be speak during public participation after the meeting is adjourned, and we would be here to listen. All right, so let's begin calling the names, please.
Board members, Dr. Grego, Madam Chair, we have 4 speakers for agenda item 7.8.
Okay. And we'll call the names 2 at a time. You'll see now that we have 2 lecterns. So the first person will go to one of them, and the second person will stand at the second, ready to speak when they're complete, when they finish. All right? So would you please call the first 2 names?
Our first 2 speakers are Amanda Diarmas and Barbara Dumichel.
So we have 1 speaker, and where's the second speaker?
I'm not going to speak till the end.
Okay, so she'll speak at the
So
end.
before the time starts?
Yeah, hold on just a second. We're going to call this another
Okay.
person.
The next speaker would be Sweet.
Okay, is Sweet here? All righty, good. Thank you. All right?
I want to speak on 4.3.
Okay, that will be after we adjourn the meeting during public participation.
Okay, well, that's what I want to speak on.
Okay? All righty, so Sweet is coming up, and do we have a second person?
Renee Chia for
Renee Chia?
7.8.
All righty. And if you'll wait at this one? All righty, good
Well,
morning.
before my time starts, I just wanted to ask you, this thing never wants to. What's the difference between a presentation and a vote?
Ms. Sweet, I can speak with you after the meeting, but
Well, I just know that other people were wondering too, but okay, if you don't want to answer what the
no,
difference
the
between a
statute says
presentation
that the
and a
public
vote.
has the right to speak to action items with certain exceptions, and one of those exceptions are proclamations. And so
So
you cannot
votes?
speak to 4.3 at this time.
Well, I
You can
know,
speak
I
to it
wasn't
after the
speaking
meeting.
to it, I was asking you about what you had said and brought up in explaining it, because I was wondering that myself and nobody could answer it, so they said to ask you. But I'm looking up at the purchasing for the $554,000 that you're requesting for the FEV tutoring. I also noticed when you open that bid that it's $27 per hour per student. So I don't know, is the student paying $27 per hour? Is the school paying $27 per hour per each one of these students? I'm sorry, you shook your head no when I
We'll-
said the first time, so I was hoping you would answer the
We'll
second.
answer that after you finish.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out where, when you read it, it says that it's a flat fee paid to FEV tutoring of $554,000. So where does this additional cost come in? If you're paying this company $554,000 as a flat fee, why is there an additional fee being incurred on either the school or student? Because when you read in it, it says $27 per hour. But if you go into the purchasing bid, it's saying that you want this flat fee for this tutoring service. And when you look at $27 per hour, I have a friend who's a teacher, who's been a teacher for a very, very, very long time. He's barely making that, and he teaches like the AP and the IB program. So I'm trying to figure out why tutors are getting paid more than teachers. You know, and the bus driver thing, they didn't get that $1,000 bonus until June of 2021. They weren't even included in the first one. You know, you were looking at all of this money being thrown around, and it's great. We finally got to the bus drivers after they weren't included in essential the money first up front. Because I looked it up after Ms. Carr said that they got money because they were so angry the last time, and I saw that they finally got it in June of 2021. So it was finally like after, you know, their whole life crushed down. But now you're bringing in a tutoring service, an additional tutoring service that's getting paid more than the average teacher to tutor when the teachers are supposed to be able to teach the kids. And so that's why I'm just trying to figure out, we look at these budgets and there's so many other things on there where it's like, we keep asking for more money and more money. You guys make over $54,000. Mr. Grego is rivaling the President of the United States with all of his perks coming up at almost $400,000. But yet the bus drivers get a measly $1,000, the teachers get a measly $1,000, and you're paying these tutors out of nowhere when you should be sending these teachers to get whatever they need to be able to help the students learn instead of paying an additional tutor as much as you would be paying a teacher. These teachers aren't getting what you say that they are. They're not getting the help. The bus drivers aren't getting the help, and you keep requesting more money for things like equity managers and things outside of all these things, all of this money, when it needs to be going to actually the teachers and the schools and the students that you claim to care so much about. Every single student. When I hear somebody say that, there were a lot of students last year that got left out of that "we care about you." So when I hear that, it's like it's such a blanket statement that happens, and it's so dangerous because it's not true. It's not true. And all of this money is wasteful. It's wasteful if it's not going to do any good. How many years have all these teachers been in school? And now we need to we need to bring in tutors that are getting paid as much as the teachers, or if not more, because the IB teacher is the one that gets paid that, not the lower end teachers that maybe don't get deemed as well.
Thank you. Dr. Grego, do we have someone that can explain that to the public? The students are not paying the $27.
Perhaps we could, my suggestion is maybe let the speakers, we have a few more, and then I'll ask Mr. Henrik to address
All righty.
this.
So we'll listen to the other speakers
In
and then
case
we'll
they're
get
on the
clarification
same,
at
the
the end.
reason why is they're on the same item, so.
Right, okay. Welcome.
Thank you. I am here about agenda item 7.8, bid number 22961-084. I'm here today to ask you to table this bid item. 3 minutes is an inadequate amount of time to have a thorough review of the issues surrounding this purchase. Like our request last time to table line items for further discussion and review, this tutoring program has problematic issues with its structure and its purpose. It has come to my attention that I don't believe you're properly understanding the issue. The theories and ideologies these items are based upon are at their core logically fallacious. In other words, if the foundation of your curriculum or training or whatever is flawed, then everything that follows is flawed. An example of a false premise is all birds can fly and penguins can't fly, so penguins aren't birds. The premise that all birds can fly is false. Some birds can't fly, and this renders the argument logically unsound. I have cautioned you about this from the first time I came before this board. This Marxist rabble is nefariously woven into and driven down through what used to be credible sources of academic materials. An example from Ohio recently where the school board was allowed to resign or face criminal charges is the English assignment from the USA Today article by Phil Karen, 642 Things to Write About, provided to high school students enrolled in a college credit course called Writing in the Liberal Arts 2. Parents said there was a prompt that asked students to write a sex scene you wouldn't show your mom, and another which said, rewrite the sex scene from above into one that you'd let your mom read. Another prompt asked students to drink a beer and describe how it tastes. Parents said they—
Ms. Chia, I'm sorry.
Yes.
How does this relate to the contract with FEV Tutoring?
Because it is the exact same thing that is happening with this FEV tutoring.
Okay.
I'm almost done with the quote. Another prompt asked students to drink a beer and describe how it tastes. Parents said they felt these writing prompts and others were not appropriate for high school students. Let's assume 639 of these were benign, like write about your summer vacation or write about your favorite kind of tree. Does that make these 3 acceptable? Of course not. They're clearly criminal. Raise your hand if you think 639 of them were benign. In a Fox News article recently, there was a discussion also that says for months, parents have been fighting what they describe as woke indoctrination in schools and purported attempts to fuel that at the administrative level. The story was about the Panorama Education, which has been in the news lately, as I'm sure you've heard a lot of controversy about, and you can look that up. The FEV Tutor Inc. is an advocate of SEL and a partner of Panorama, among others. So stop buying this crap and let's have a dialogue you claim to be in support of. And literally stop buying this crap. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to make it very clear that those assignments are not being done in Pinellas County. This is an example that was given from another state. All right, can we call the next two speakers?
For agenda item 7.8, the final speaker is Sandy Sturgmeyer.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. I was wondering, you guys are going to be spending our taxpayer money on training teachers on CRT. And I was wondering, did any of you get the memo from Governor DeSantis that CRT is banned?
Stop the clock, please.
Ms. Sturgmeyer, I'm sorry, so which bid number are you speaking to?
7.8.
7.8, and there are several bid numbers in there. We're buying parts for trucks, we're buying other things, we're buying this tutoring service that somebody spoke to.
Okay, this is apparently 800 and some thousand to train teachers on CRT, which is banned.
We are
Do you guys
we are
not
not training
understand?
teachers on CRT. We are not training them on critical race theory.
Yeah, you're now calling it cultural.
Ms. Sturgmeyer, I'm sorry, excuse me. So I'm looking at all of the bids. There's nothing on this agenda item that is anywhere close to 800 and some $1,000 for training. So do you have a bid number that you're willing to speak to? If not, you can speak about what you want to at the end of the meeting, so long as it relates to school board business. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other speakers for agenda items?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All right, we will now move to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to accept?
Motion.
All right, Ms. Hine, and we have a second.
Oh, wait.
Okay, Mrs. Long. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. And it passes unanimously. We will now move to item 8.1. Where is it? Okay, non-consent 8.1. Request approval of the 2021 school improvement plans. Do we have a motion? Okay, Dr. Carr. And do we have a second?
Second.
And Ms. Edmond seconding it. Dr. Grego?
Yes, Madam Chair, and to the public, this Florida statute requires that annually school board members approve each and every one of the school improvement plans of our schools, and we're bringing all of them to you as you've had them for a couple of weeks now in draft form and now in final form. I want to thank Ms. Dull for really shepherding this huge task, and also know that the school improvement plans and the district strategic plan are in alignment, which makes perfect sense to us, and so does it to our students and to our parents. So I'm going to ask Ms. Dull to just briefly review some of the highlights of the process, and then the approval. We'll be sending these to the State Department after this meeting.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Good morning.
Grego. Good morning, Madam Chair, Board, and members of the community and staff. Today I bring forward, after we've workshopped both in July and again on September 21st, for your approval, all of the school improvement plans for the district this year. As a reminder, these, as Dr. Grego said, are aligned to our district strategic plan and our strategic goals and actions. Schools work alongside members from teaching and learning, our area superintendents, Title I, family community engagement, to ensure that their plans are comprehensive and look at all the areas for school improvement from where they are to where they are going. These plans were a little bit different this year, as number one, we didn't have data from the 2019-2020 school year for FSA. It was also a little different because we received our FSA data for 2021 a little bit later. So some of them were made based on what they saw in their progress monitoring data and then updated. Why this is really important is that school improvement plans are iterative throughout the year and can be updated. They can be updated for SAC alignment with their budgets for the school improvement funds. They can also be updated. All of our schools update them mid-year as we reflect on where we are and what goals and action steps we need to take forward. All of these are currently posted on our online website Following board approval, they will go through the state process and be submitted and also be publicly available through the state SIM site as well. So today I bring those forward for your approval.
Very good, thank you. Board members, any comments, questions? We had an opportunity to review those after the agenda came in. We've also had conversation at our workshops about this. So, all right, seeing none, we have a motion by Mrs. Kane and a second by Ms. Edmond. All in favor, say aye. Aye. It passes, and opposed, the same sign. It passes unanimously. Dr. Carr? All right. All right, so before we move on, we said that we would clarify after the speakers, and I moved on and forgot to do that. So we're going to ask for some clarification for the comments on the tutoring for item 7.8.
Yes, Madam Chair, and I'm going to ask Mr. Henrik, Associate Superintendent for Teaching and Learning. As he's coming forward, let me remind the public and to the board, as we looked at all of our ESSER strategies that we were charged with the State Department is to close the achievement gap based on the last 18 months. And individual tutoring is perhaps one of the more effective, if not the most effective means. It doesn't preclude our own teachers from participating in this. In fact, we pay our teachers after school extended learning time all of the time, but also in many cases our teachers have long days and have family obligations that we need additional tutors to do that. So I want to thank and recognize Mr. Henrik for reaching out and securing a very well-noted and also research-based tutoring company that can help our students and our parents. And so, Mr. Henrik, if you can give some overview to this. These funds, I want to make clear, are specifically state funds for ESSER, which was from federal through the state, specific for this purpose.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Grego.
Thank you.
As usual, you're right on point with the comments. As to what I was going to also share is that these funds came from the state and must be used to address learning loss. As we examine learning loss of students over the last 2 years, algebra and geometry are two areas where students in high school in particular have suffered the greatest loss. And so when you look at students who are out of school, one of the ways to catch them up is to get them more time. And so with the help of our AAR division, we studied different ways in which you can catch students up on learning loss and settled on a couple of different models, including in-school tutoring, where 11 of our high schools hired teachers this school year as well as paraprofessionals to come in and work with algebra teachers in classrooms to provide during the day tutoring. We've also provided professional planning for teachers after school and are paying them their hourly rates to do that, recognizing that teaching algebra to high school students is one of the most challenging tasks for a high school teacher. So with that, we also are looking at virtual tutoring. It's been research-based. We've done a lot looking at different companies. This particular company met our need both from a safety and security standpoint in terms of how they interact with students, the recording of that and all of the things that we would be concerned about, but also having success with other similar student groups in large districts in the country. So the $27 an hour is paid by the school district to the company. Students, teachers, nobody else has any cost to them. It's done both in school and out of school. That's why in the contract you see a couple different versions. And it can be done one-on-one or it can be done in a small group as well. The data that we receive from that goes right back to the teachers that they use in their planning and is one of the ways that we are responding to the state's request to spend these dollars to close the learning loss that we've experienced with students over the last 2 years.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. All right, we will now move on to 8.2. If you have a question, if you would go over or outside, thank you. All righty. Non-consent, 8.2, setting a public hearing and authorizing the advertising of the public hearing to consider the amendment to policy 2410, special services policy 1140, discipline of administrators, policy 3140, discipline of instructional staff, 4140, discipline of support staff. Policy 5630.01, use of seclusion and restraint on students with disabilities. And policy 9800, charter schools. This is a first reading. Do we have a motion?
A motion.
Okay, Mrs. Long?
Second.
Mrs. Edmond? And Dr. Grego?
Yes, Madam Chair, 8.2 is an update to our policies based on the prior legislative session and things that are required to us. That's why you see so many different arrangements of our policies. And Ms. Dull, who oversees all of the policies of our district, will bring you up to date with those. Keep in mind that, and for the public's sake, we went over each of these changes and clarifications on September 21st during our workshop.
Thank you, Dr. Grego. This is the first reading and approval to set the public hearing. The public hearing for this would be set for in December at a board meeting date that will be set at our November organizational meeting. So there is no actual date set yet, but it would be the board meeting in December. So the 8.2, setting up a public hearing, as Dr. Grego mentioned, is for policies that need updating in direct alignment with the 2021 legislative session. So for policy 2410, special services, this aligns to the language from House Bill 590, requiring that the superintendent annually report to the Department of Education the number of involuntary examinations initiated at schools, on school buses, or at school-sponsored activities. Policy 1140, policy 3140, and policy 4140 all have to do the discipline of staff members, specifically administrators, instructional staff, or support staff. The language added to each of these policies aligns with House Bill 131 and requires that all reports of alleged misconduct involving the safety of a student be investigated regardless of whether an employee involved resigns or is terminated prior to the conclusion of the investigation. Policy 5630.01, the use of seclusion and restraint on students with disabilities, aligns to House Bill 149, and what you'll see in there is a lot of deletions. It removes the language for the use of seclusion or mechanical restraint on students with disabilities. And policy 9800, charter schools, adjusts language in alignment with House Bill 1028. It removes the February 1st deadline to submit a charter school application. And it also is in alignment with legislation that states if a charter school changes its curriculum focus, that change automatically assumed accepted if the curriculum aligns with the state standards. So bring this forward for approval for setting a public hearing.
Thank you, Chair.
Very good, thank you. All right, I see no comments or questions from board members. Again, we did discuss this at a workshop. I'm just going to read the policy numbers this time rather than what they all stand for, but we have a motion and a second to have the first reading for policy 2410, 1140, 3140, 4140, 5630.01, and policy 9800. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. And it, too, passes unanimously. We now move to another policy, 8.3, setting a public hearing and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider the amendments to policy 2421, vocational technical education programs. Again, this is a first reading. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Mrs. Long, second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Hine. Dr. Grego?
Yeah, Ms. Dull.
Again, this policy is brought forward and was discussed at workshop on September 21st and would be up for second reading in the public hearing in December when that date is determined. This policy is bringing forward to update language. So even the title of the policy, vocational technical education, will be updated upon approval of this to career and technical education. Those edits are made throughout. It also acknowledges dual enrollment students who take not only classes at the high school but also at our Pinellas Technical College, and how that grade will be calculated and when that grade will be calculated. There was a slight update since workshop to that language to clarify and to align with the practices of our technology to make sure that as we write it in policy, the grades will be updated in accordance. So we bring that forward for approval of public hearing.
All right. I see no board members requesting to speak, so we have a motion and a second to set the advertising of the public hearing for for policy 2421, vocational technical education program. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. It passes unanimously. We're now down to 8.4, setting a public hearing and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider the amendment to policy 2460, exceptional student education. Do we have a motion? All right, Ms. Hine, we have a second? Okay, Ms. Kane, Dr. Grego.
Yes, go ahead.
Board members, this policy and setting for a public hearing also aligns with the same timeline I described. This policy is a little bit different than most policies we bring forward. This is a policy that aligns with the state policies and procedures for exceptional student education, also called the SPMP. Generally, the timeline is we work on this each fall and bring it to the board once it has already been approved by the Florida Department of Education each spring. Because of some overlays with COVID, the timeline got pushed back, so the document and the policy you're approving today has already been approved by the Florida Department of Education. It updates our SPMP for the 2020-2021 year, so it actually is from last year. The team is already, and including the Florida Department of Education, is already online to begin this next go-around. So this is a policy that we approve almost after the state has approved what we are doing. So we bring this forward for approval for a public hearing. You can see in the update, all of the sections are updated each year. The first one on there is restraint and seclusion, which we just discussed as an update. So it aligns with the policy set for a public hearing we just discussed. There are areas about public and private partnerships, our procedural safeguards, how IEPs and general education intervention procedures, eligibility requirements, participation in state and district assessments, discipline, and also newly to the policy or to this SPMP starting last year is also the readiness due to local or national emergency. So included within the SPMP moving forward is also instructional continuity and continuity of services for students with disabilities at ESE. So we bring that forward for setting a public hearing.
Good, thank you. All right, I see no requests for comment, so we have a motion by Ms. Hine, a second by Mrs. Kane to set the public hearing authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider the amendment to policy 2460, exceptional student education. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no, and it passes unanimously. On 8.5, we have a setting the public hearing and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider the amendments to policy 8420.03, which is reporting student progress and class ranking for high school, and policy 5430, class rank. Do we have a motion?
A motion.
Okay, Mrs. Long, do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hine. Shall we go straight to Ms. Dahl? All righty. Mrs. Dahl. Ms.
All
Dahl.
right, this is the last one of the series. So this agenda item brings forward the two policies that Ms. Cook mentioned. Not to be confused with the SPMP I just discussed for ESE, this is part of the SPP, meaning the Student Progression Plan. So each year following legislative session, staff goes back and looks at all of the alignment, not only from legislation, but and also in practice. And this year we are bringing forward two policies. The first one being policy 5420.03, reporting student progress and class ranking. What is being updated in here is amending to clarify language around early examinations, and that this is not necessarily for convenience around vacation, but for illness and those type of things. It also clarifies in there that if a student is unable to take the exam at the scheduled time, that they can take the exam regardless of semester upon return. Policy 5430, class rank, is being updated because of the HOPE course. It is being deleted out of what can count into the valedictorian and salutatorian calculations. As we are seeing more and more students start taking this before they enter into high school, it is an unweighted class. If you take it before you enter high school, it is one of those that can impact the valedictorian and salutatorian. So it is being updated to remove that as something that's involved in the calculation of that honor.
Very
And
good.
so we bring those forward for setting a public hearing.
All righty, thank you. Dr. Carr?
Thank you. I just want to acknowledge that this is a first reading of 8.5 on both of these, and I think it would be pertinent for individuals in our community, especially our students who this has an impact on, to take time to look it over and provide us feedback. There are lots of opportunities to provide feedback, including email the board or utilizing Let's Talk. There are some changes, and of course they're around what was legislatively mandated, but there were also some recommendations, if my understanding is correct, and you can correct me if I'm off base, that change some of the decision-making to be, there's at times, sometimes a little more flexibility at the school level. So I just think it's important for individuals to read this item over and have an awareness of the implications that might be in place, and that they provide their feedback, particularly students who, as they're factoring and working towards their valedictorian, salutatorian status.
Okay. All right, no other board members or comments, all righty. So we have a motion and a second to set the public hearing and authorize the advertisement of the public hearing to consider amendments to policy 5420.03, reporting student progress and class ranking in high school, and policy 5430, class rank. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. And it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, and our last non-consent item is to request approval of the COVID sick leave pay memorandum of understanding with SEIU, Florida Public Services Union, and the Fraternal Order of Police, which is the FOP, and the COVID sick leave pay for professional and technical supervisory non-represented support staff and administrators. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
All right, Ms. Edmond. Second?
Second.
All righty, Mrs. Kane, we have a second. Dr. Grego.
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, I'm very pleased to bring this 8.06, which is the Memorandum of Understanding, to extend the COVID sick leave pay memorandum of that understanding through December 17th. Our folks have been through a lot, and it was certainly, as I know this board leads with with compassion, and the fact is that I'm very pleased. I want to thank those areas in those unions who were able to ratify this, and so we'll continue to work with this. And Ms. Texel, I want to say thank you. She's been the lead player in working with our various union groups, and certainly want to extend this to as many employees as possible. So today we're bringing it to the SEIU, the Fraternal Order Police, and all those non-represented employees to our district.
Very good, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Grego, staff. Yes, I am here this morning to request the approval of the tentative agreements for the COVID sick leave pay of a memorandum of understanding with SEIU, FPSU, the Fraternal Order of Police, as well as the COVID sick leave pay for PTS, non-represented support staff and administrators. As you know, since March 2020, the Family First Coronavirus Relief Act provided paid time off for employees who were unable to work due to reasons related to COVID, but that has since expired. The district and SEIU, FPSU, and FOP bargaining teams recently agreed on specific terms and conditions for which employees can continue to be paid either through paid sick leave or through the use of the district's sick leave bank when needed to quarantine. We believe this agreement is so important that it provides our employees with the ability to get paid following the agreed upon guidelines when they are required to quarantine. And as Dr. Grego mentioned, this agreement will be in effect until December 17th. Both bargaining units recently approved this MOU, and as with other previous agreements reached with bargaining units, the non-represented employees will follow the same terms and conditions. So on behalf of the superintendent's staff, we are highly recommending you approve these agreements with SEIU and FOP, as well as for our non-represented staff this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comments? All right. We have a request to approve the COVID sick leave pay memorandum of understanding with SEIU, FOP, and our non-represented support staff and administrators. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. And it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right,
Thank you,
we'll
Paul.
move to items introduced by the superintendent.
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, I want to start my comments today with thanking you for the many visits that you conduct to our schools and through our schools. Our principals sincerely appreciate you being there. I know my staff and I have been making a concerted effort to visit all schools in our district multiple times, especially this year, and to see how things are going and also the needs of our schools, our parents, our students. I also want to say to San Jose Elementary, what a great opportunity for the ribbon cutting there and opening up their doors to their communities. So it is refreshing to get the communities all back into our schools and truly being a true partner in our schools. Also want to say, give you a very brief update for the area superintendents and chief transformation officers. They not only began their year-long training with the University of Washington, but Dr. Corbin and I also attended, probably not entirely, but it's their training, but we want to be a collective partner with them, and I just want to say thank you to the commitment of time. Their work still is there after they finish, and also the University of Washington to the Leadership Development Program that is known nationally, and we're very much benefiting from that. Also, thank you to the board for the certificate of distinction, the ceremony that we had, the drive-by ceremony that I know Mrs. Cook, Ms. Edmonds, and our whole entire professional development department, Mark Narkier and others. We camped out at Mount Vernon Elementary, the administrative building right here, and also Countryside High School to hand out the certificate of distinction to each of the members. 108 support employees earned certificate of distinction, 81 earning the level 1 and 27 earning level 2. We talk a lot about retention of teachers and the need to continue to find ways to retain teachers, and we're continuing to look for those ways. I want to highlight one of which our professional development department, and that's hosting the new teacher social. As I reported earlier, we were meeting with all new teachers throughout the county virtually just to update them and have other people, mayors and others, speak to them. This last one, we had a gathering actually at Clearwater Beach Holiday Inn, and just for our new teachers to come and socialize with others. So we're seeing tremendous benefits of connecting with our teachers outside of the work environment and really understanding what their needs are and how can we help partner with them. Also want to say LEAP Tampa Bay College Access Network, we received the 2021 Member of the Year Award of Excellence from the National College Attainment Network. As you know, we've been working as a district with LEAP on the college and career readiness, and we've been partnering with the Pinellas Educational Foundation for this, and I'm very proud of the work that we're doing. As a local college access network, LEAP members are working towards this needle, towards our collective goal of seeing 60% of the entire region, not just Pinellas County, but the entire Tampa Bay working age adults holding a college degree or credential by 2025. And we truly are making a difference, and certainly Pinellas County is leading the way with its elevating excellence in college and career centers and nights and so forth. I do want to bring up the event even last night of the college and career at Countryside High School that was remarkably successful. And as I walked around it, and I know this school board had a booth there, and as they greeted hundreds and hundreds of people, just the families seeing and talking with college admissions officers throughout the country, and people came from all over, all the way from California to the Northeast, to all of our state universities here in Florida. So, and we are going to still host a virtual one October 18th, because we learned that was pretty successful. Not only in the face-to-face, but October 18th, there'll be over 100 colleges participating from across the country, including internationally. So students and families will have the opportunity to visit and spend some quality time with those colleges and universities. If you check our website, pcsb.org/college fairs, it will give you all of the instructions that you need. The district, though, application process for next school year is beginning tonight, Tuesday, October 12th at 6:30 p.m. The district will host a FaceTime and YouTube live event for families to learn about the processes, the key dates, and just really an overview and orientation of the district application program. The fairs will take place throughout October. North County Fair, October 19th, from 6 to 8 at Tarpon Springs High School. The All-County Fair from October 23rd, all high schools, and from 9 through 10:30 a.m. in elementary and middle schools from 11 to 12:30 p.m. at Largo High School. And then South County Fair will be October 26th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Northeast High School. So if you have any dates, I'm throwing a lot of dates and times at you. All of these dates and times with additional detail is on our website. Following that, we'll have discovery nights at individual schools throughout the month of November and mid-December. This will ensure that families and parents, if they want further information, and there's no better way to find out a school that is a fit for you if you visit that school. So we'll be having those, and just an exciting time period of the year. Mr. Truskowski is leading the way on this, and met with her early this morning. They're excited. Her whole team and student assignment is excited about this district application program. Let me also say that as they work with the district application program, they're also working to ensure that our community schools are a choice for our parents, and that is we make a conscious choice of strengthening and working effectively with our community schools too. So where there's a curriculum excitement or really attraction, whether it be like the CAT program at Lakewood or the medical assistance or medical program or an IB program, we understand those are in select schools, but also want all of our parents to understand the attraction and the quality of their own neighborhood schools. We have been selected to present twice at the Council of Great City Schools annual conference. Keith Masterides and Pat Wright will be conducting a presentation on leveraging student leadership. And then Jennifer Dull, as you just heard from, and Teresa Price will be talking about leveraging our resources as the federal funds with ESSER funds coming down, how to greatly have this impact of how and where so that 3, 4, 5 years from now we can look back and say we made a tremendous difference in the area of student achievement and closing that gap. Last thing I'll mention to you is we've had further discussions with the Department of Education and the Commissioner, is that they did submit their ARP or American Rescue Plan funds. Their application has been submitted. I think the board has a link. It's 342 pages. I will read it, and staff will read it. We'll see and determine, but I believe as I looked at it from in the early stages, that our plans and what we're doing and the buckets are identical to what their plan is. And their plan and our plans were kind of formulated very similarly. So we're not out there and doing anything that would be viewed as inappropriate or certainly out of line with the regulations that the state's putting in. So the COVID relief funds will be there, will be here, and we'll continue with that work. That concludes my comments.
Very good, thank you. And items introduced by the school board attorney, Mr. Gapersky.
I have no items. Thank you, ma'am.
All righty, thank you. So we'll move to items introduced by the school board members. Dr. Carr?
Thank you. Just to piggyback on that, Dr. Grego, thank you for your leadership with the state as well as staff in supporting the state in their development by submitting our plans and working hard on our plans. I also want to acknowledge student assignment. If you have a chance today, they've also done some work in there and it's looking really good. They had, as we all are possibly looking at next levels of student assignments in our own families, it's an opportunity to go through the system yourself and of course provide feedback. But just the facilities themselves, Mr. Herbeck, are looking really nice down there in student assignment. So thank you, Ms. Long, for your tremendous community feel with your presentation at San Jose. It was great to go out and see the turtles and see the construction that went on at San Jose with their pre-K program. I also would like to thank, being that it is still Dyslexia Month, those folks participating in the professional development in reading, both at, I had the opportunity, I know it's going on in more places, but to observe some of the professional development taking place at Nelson Elementary and Palm Harbor Middle School. So those were really fantastic places where learning is focused in on not only expanding the students' ability to read, but exposing them so that they can find the joy in reading. I'd also like to thank all those coaches. We know that's usually your area, Mr. Dudley, but I had the opportunity to go to the city meet this past weekend, and there were a number of records set. Those St. Pete High swimmers, the young women, relay sets a record, and I know there were others, and I may not remember them. Also had the chance to get to Plum Elementary School, and there they have been working with their data room, reviewing their student data, and just had an outstanding amount of investment in monitoring the progress of their students. So thank you to the leadership, both the teacher leadership and the administrative leadership at Plum Elementary School. It was impressive. And at Pinellas Virtual, was out at Pinellas Virtual and visiting Bayside High School. And with Pinellas Virtual's large increase in enrollment, as well as Bayside's increase in enrollment and new leadership, there were a lot of initiatives taking place at Bayside to really move things forward with the whole group of students there. So that was a real wonderful opportunity, and I just wanted to share it back with you. Also it was National Walk to School, and I participated at Starkey Elementary. I know others were at other places, and boy, there was a huge turnout. It was all the way around the corner from the church, and what a great school Starkey is. Seeing so many parents and families joining together to participate in National Walk to School Day. And thank you. I know there were a number of us on the CoQuebs call recently, and our involvement with CoQuebs and participating in that. I've been attending CoQuebs meetings for over 15 years now, and there are challenges right now with how we will address accountability. You know, with the changing in standards and the changing in assessments. You know, we had FCAT 2.0, FSA, now where are we headed? So I really appreciate the leadership in teaching and learning to look at that, and our assessment and accountability division. And the certificate of distinction was a great opportunity to be here at the office and see so many familiar faces. It's a great chance for professional development and a lot of feedback about it is a lot of work and it is a lot of time when you acknowledge people's commitment to it. And thank you to those folks who did move forward to really invest in their professional development. And just, if you haven't been out to Hollins High, I was also out at Hollins High, who spoke earlier about their student center, and it is beautiful. Mm-hmm. And they have also really improved their, for lack of a better word from these home improvement shows, like their curb appeal. Yeah. When you walk up there, it just seems so welcoming, and the climate, the culinary arts program has an opportunity to pull things out, the arts program, and it just feels like such a nice community with the students engaged, and the camaraderie amongst and between the different groups of students who are in different programs at the school. It was a really nice place to visit, and obviously from the students this morning. So those have been the things that I've been able to take part in since our last meeting, and I just really wanted to share how excited I was being back out in our schools and meeting with people and seeing folks. So thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you. Mrs. Edmond?
Thank you. This morning we voted on several items, 7.9 through 7.19. And I'd like to ask if Mr. Herbert can provide additional information, specifically whether other firms are going to be considered for services less than $4 million, Will the approved firms be provided the opportunity to submit bids for services that are less? And is there a possibility for other firms to be used instead of the firms that were approved this morning?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Edmond, and Madam Chair and board members. The items that you approved this morning were all for the design. There were a couple of actual, and I don't mean to sound negative toward design, but the actual work will be done a little bit later. But this is for the design of different types of projects. And but your questions is yes, other firms will be eligible both to join the list. This is you actually approved a 2-year contract with an automatic 3rd year, and other firms can apply during that time and join the list. So a new firm starting up in the area, and in fact we picked up 2 of those type of firms in our previous contract. So other firms do come in and they do pick up work through that opportunity. The firms that you approved this morning can go out and work on projects larger than $4 million as well. And many of them do apply for projects, such as Tyrone and Clearwater and other projects such as that. Dr. Grego mentioned San Jose, and San Jose it was a project that cost about $3 million. It was a perfect type of project to fit into these type of contracts that you approved this morning. It's a little bit smaller. It required design and it required a CM. And on both of those, since we started San Jose prior to this contract being put in place, we had to go out and do a general solicitation for that. And what that does is it just really kind of slows down the process. For all projects over $4 million, we put out a submittal through purchasing. Companies from all over can apply for that. We have a scoring committee who grades those. We then invite them in for presentations and then award eventually those companies the project. What the contracts you did approve this morning does is it's for projects for $4 million or less. And really what we've done is we've pre-approved all of these firms. So the necessity of purchasing to go out and advertise and for all of those companies to submit a book and to go through the presentation process, which takes them time, and it takes time away from the work that they're doing for other people, is really a benefit not only to them, but for us as well. And so, again, these contracts this morning benefit both of us, but we're very fortunate, by the way, that the state increased the limit on those contracts. It used to be $2 million, it's now $4 million. And so it really does broaden the opportunities for these firms to work. And with all of these as well, there are projects once in a while that will be less than $4 million, and that we just don't think that this contract, for one reason or another, is the best way to approach it. And we may put out an individual bid, or we may put out a hard bid. And again, these companies on this list can still apply for that if they want to. But by and large, most of them are very appreciative that they don't have to go through the submittal process over and over and over again. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. And thank you very much, Mr. Herbeck. And something else that I wanted to highlight and recognize is our professional learning department. I had the opportunity to join Safety Harbor Middle School and earning a micro-credential for mental health by completing the youth mental health first aid and the cognito training, which is also something that we purchased, as well as participating in the threat assessment and showing up in person to participate in some of our ESE trainings, which include trauma-informed care and sensory-sensitive strategies, hazing prevention for all students, and several courses of that nature. I think it's very important that we recognize our educators and staff that are following through with additional training, because I believe that it really provides extra tools for us to assess students and provide the supports that they need. And I can go on and on about student services and the important work that they have in making sure that teachers are not only equipped with the resources, but that our teachers are able to provide the appropriate dialogue and support to those students throughout the day. We have seen that mental health issues or challenges are increasing and having staff that are aware of how to support students and other personnel is important. So thank you.
All right. Ms. Hine?
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on Ms. Edmond and Mr. Herbeck's conversation about the selection committee. I had the opportunity to sit on those as a citizen representative a couple of years ago. One of the other things I was really impressed with was the fact that any company that submits, and once they're graded and all of that is available, they can call Mr. Herbeck's office and get a rundown of where they were high, where they were low, what can they do better. So we do a great job of even mentoring companies of what it is that they can do better. So any company is welcome and encouraged to submit for those, and you do a very thorough job on those selection committees. I was impressed. And then just since I pushed the button, I will also mention on the school improvement plan part that Mrs. Dole came up and spoke about. I know we quickly approved that and didn't have any discussion, but I know that for our area superintendents and for all of our principals and all of our SAC committees out there and parents who participate on those, and a school improvement plan is no small thing. It's significant, and you put a lot of time and effort into those, and they really make a difference. So thought I would just take a moment to acknowledge that and say thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, any other board members? Yep, all right. This past week, I attended the Florida School Board's, the Board of Directors President Training, which they do every year with the board chairman, vice chairman of committees, and the president. I am pleased to report that one of the items that we had during that time and talked about was our audit. We have a clean audit for the organization, which was good. We also, I want to encourage you to go to the joint conference or look on and see what they have. The agenda is online. And I also want you to look at one day is committee meetings. And if you are interested in serving on one of the committees, you can still sign up. That, you know, there's no statute of limitations here as to how long you can serve or at what point you can join. But if you are at all thinking about submitting your name here for chairman or vice chair, I would ask that you look at that and put the date on your calendar, because we encourage everyone to attend that session so that you can learn how to be the best chairperson and vice chairperson possible. The National School Boards Association sent out a letter to President Biden, and we had some conversation at our Board of Directors meeting. I'm going to send these to you. We're concerned about the process as well as the content. I can go into more detail later if you would like, but we wrote a letter letting them know. Apparently, the letter was written with the signature of the president and the executive director. You can pass it all the way down. It was never run past the executive committee. It was never run past their board. It was just sent out on behalf of that. So in here, we mentioned the process, along with some other processes that have been going on. Florida School Boards Association has withheld their dues until those processes are taken care of. But I wanted to give you a copy of the letter that was sent on behalf of the Florida School Boards Association, not on behalf of the local, not on behalf of this board, because it was nothing that you approved, but it was the Board of Directors that said, you know, we have concerns about the content of this letter. We also have great concerns about the processes that are being used. So that's just an FYI for you. I did receive a message back about our master board training. The December 6th or the 8th are available. The 10th is not. We will finalize a date after the meeting, rather than sitting here with calendars right now in front of everybody. So when we do our evaluation, bring your calendar. And with that, my report is complete. Dr. Corbett, are there any requests by the board?
No, Madam Chair, I did not record any requests today.
All right. Then our school board evaluation of the meeting will be held after we have our public participation. And with that, if there are no concerns or disagreements, the meeting is adjourned. All right. So we will now move to the public participation portion of our meeting. Mrs. Hauk, do we have speakers. I'm going to just remind everybody of the same comments that I have made before, and part of our policy, and I will quote that, said that we may interrupt or terminate a speaker when his statements are not relevant or exceeds the time allowance. If they're abusive, threatening, defamatory, we're not having that. And you're also not doing that at this point. So I think you all have read the policies and know what the expectations are, and we appreciate you following through with that. Okay, so Mrs. Hauk.
Yes, Madam Speaker, board members, and Dr. Grego, we have 5 speakers this afternoon.
Thank you. And we'll call them 2 at a time, again, to come up as we did last time.
Our first 2 speakers are Nancy Velarde and Barbara Dumochel.
All righty. And you can go to either one. Looks like Nancy's coming to this one. All right. It's still morning. Good morning.
Morning. As you know, my main mission as president of PCTA has been to heal the rift and lack of trust that has gradually developed between management and employees over the past years. Unfortunately, instead of seeing improvement, teachers are witnessing a steady decline in the relationship. I understand that the unusual challenges of the last year and a half have taken a toll not only on the educators, but also on the administrators at our work sites, causing an excess of tension. But improvement will not happen until we partner to make it happen. The lack of trust goes both ways, which further complicates this all-important relationship. Administrators do not appear to trust the teachers to perform the duties that they were hired to execute, which is evidenced by micromanaging, excessive scrutiny, and increased interference in the delivery of instruction. This in turn results in the teacher feeling a deep resentment for not being respected to perform her requisite duties. First-year teachers are expected to be expert immediately, which is unrealistic, since this is obviously a profession that requires experience to master. Instead of receiving support and advice meant to guide them to be great teachers, they are criticized or disciplined, or worse yet, non-renewed or probationally dismissed. In a time when the nationwide teacher shortage is reflected in our own community, with over 100 still unfilled positions and educators resigning every week, we should be nurturing new teachers and creating greatness, instead of prematurely sending them packing. This relationship begins with cordiality between the district and PCTA. We must demonstrate a cooperation that can be repeated in the schools. For some reason, our relationship has been somewhat strained, and it sets a poor example for the structure in our system. PCTA has no desire for our negotiations to be adversarial. We believe that we should be collaboratively creating a contract that is intended to resolve conflict rather than escalate it. Both organizations should operate from the belief that our educators are valuable and should be treated as such. That same respect should be extended to the organization that represents educator interests, PCTA. And for your information, we have all PCTA and PESPA have already agreed to the COVID leave MOUs. We are simply waiting for the Public Employee Relations Commission. We must abide by their rules for ratification. So we are simply pending ratification. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm Barbara Dumochel. Last but not least, I get my 3 minutes. That's why there's not thousands of parents here, because we have to work for a living. What a beautiful example of American values, the 2 students who spoke earlier, that we that embrace all races. It proves that we embrace as Americans all races to prosper and succeed. All of our children are valued regardless of their color or personal beliefs. That's already given. That's a given. The American work, and I just want to comment on a few of the other comments. The American workers, teachers are undervalued and underpaid compared to the pay rate of executive and administrative positions. That gap is way out of balance. And secondly, we all have equal rights in America. The LGBT community need no special attention or recognition, just like every other community and of values. I do not agree with all religious groups and values and sexual orientations and racial views, and they may not agree with mine. I don't push my views on them, and they shouldn't be able to push their views on me or my family or in the classroom on my kids. As a parent, I have a right to teach my children my religious beliefs. If any group wants to, they can meet in after-school meetings to support, promote, and communicate their belief system. I mean, that's what we did when we were kids. If any individual child needs help in any area or guidance, they should seek it. It is available. You do not have the right to infringe on my child's learning time to address special needs, sexual orientations, religious or racial propaganda to do, that have no bearing, nothing to do with my children and their SAT scores. They have no bearing on my child's education or success. It is not a teacher's job to push their religious, sexual, or racial views on my child. Again, if any child has any issues or any sexual issues, whatever, they can get help in a program dedicated to that end. A teacher's job is to spot that and then direct them and guide them into helps, which are available in the community, in America. That's our country. We have a beautiful country, a beautiful country. So here we go. These are my comments. That was just addressing what was said previously and that you all seem to agree with. Okay, please understand that I am not against any person here. I hold no malice towards anyone other than to protect the illegality of CSE and CRT and mandates to my children. I am a law-abiding citizen, mother, grandmother, protesting against a Marxist ideology infecting our country through inside corruption of government officials, media, teachers, unions, and school board with the intent of destroying our nation. I am holding such in contempt of your oath of office to our values, the laws embodied in our Constitution to protect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next two speakers are Renee Chia and Sweet.
And while they're coming up, I want to share that this is not the only way or the only opportunity in which the community can get in touch with us. We do have phone numbers that are available, we have email that's available, and other ways of contacting us. And I won't take any more of your time. Welcome.
Thank you. You all claim you want to have a dialogue about this issue being Marxist rabble in the community. So why don't we have a dialogue about this issue? I've been here since July asking specifically for that, and as was pointed out, we only get 3 minutes at each meeting to talk to you all about this sort of thing. It's your job to engender public trust. If the public doesn't trust you, you're failing at that job. Nicole, you seem to be able and willing to respond to the newspapers, but you don't respond to the public whom you serve. I asked all of you in an email to explain your rationale for discounting the parents out of hand at the last meeting and vote to purchase training and curriculum that have questionable origins and content when all we asked you to do was table it and have a dialogue. Lisa, Caprice, and Laura, you also did not respond. So far, what I've experienced is a lot of obstruction, not collaboration or dialogue. If you're serious about collaborating with parents, and it's all true that no teachers are teaching inappropriate content in the county, then let's put cameras in the classrooms. Let the parents see and view and review in a transparent way the content of the curriculum and supplemental materials you're using for instruction. If you have nothing to hide, stop hiding everything. I have a doctor friend in this county, in Pinellas County, who pulled his kids out of your schools because his 3rd grade daughter went to the classroom and brought home a book that had 2 gay men in bed together. When he took it to the principal and said, I don't think this is appropriate content for 3rd grade reading, the principal said, why, are you homophobic? Are you racist? What's your problem? He said, no, I don't think any 2 adults in bed together is appropriate content for 3rd grade reading. I have gay friends. I have friends of color. So there's a very disingenuous message and disingenuous way that you are approaching and treating the public on this issue, when all we're asking for is a further dialogue and a deeper dive on the issue. To that point, let's talk about equity, diversity, and inclusion. As I've told you before, my degree's in anthropology. When you say diversity, if you mean representation of all races, creeds, and backgrounds, then we can agree. But if you actually mean all races represented except white people or Christians, then we do not agree. So I think we need to get beyond this just using little jargon and saying CRT. The law, by the way, uses CRT in the 1619 project as examples of the type of thing that is not allowed in Florida schools, not as the only thing. So a lot of these talks are narrowing down and focusing specifically on, oh, it's not exactly CRT. That doesn't mean it's not Marxist rabble. That doesn't mean that it's not included in the Sunshine Standards as something that's not appropriate in the schools.
Thank you.
Is it on?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to ask, just a moment, I'm going to ask that you remember that the applause is only during the first part of it. It's not appropriate for the agenda on which we vote or at this point in time. Thank you. And our last,
Yes, I can call our final speaker, Karen Perez.
okay, good. All right.
She was in 4.3. She was being pushed.
Well, she can speak now. If she's speaking to 4.3, she can speak now. All righty. Good morning.
So I have a dream that one day in politics soon, this can all change. I realized in the beginning, before we had phones and high-speed internet, we had to elect people to speak for us. But I look forward to the day when an elected official in this day and age of high-speed internet would put out votes for the people to actually find out what the people want. Because when we vote for people that we think we have the best interest, and that program is flawed, because after we vote people in, they tend to vote how they want to versus how their constituents wanted them to. So I do have a dream one day, because I think that it is, I don't think criminal is the right word, but I think it's a little bit skeevy that you decided to do that without having public comment, without having public vote, to just write out all the parents and pass that in and write to say it's a presentation and not a vote, even though you asked for votes and everybody voted on it. Obviously, I'm confused with vocabulary. You know, I must have needed an FEV tutor or something. But this is not right for you to not give people comment about that, because this is their kids. You know, you're talking about sex, sexual orientation, who you want to have sex with, who our kids want to have sex with, who you want your children to have sex with. Sexual orientation is sex, 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 sex. That's what it is. Who we want our children to have sex with. That's what you're bringing into the school. But Mr. Grego, I sent you the email about the updated incident report with the Office of Professional Standards, Mr. Frank, hanging up on me. But I would also hope that you would look into the original investigation, because with him hanging up on me, that just tells me that this is the type of man who didn't care about what happened. But you guys should know that Ms. Blaudeville at Southern Oak Elementary told my kid, and this is general comment, so I'm allowed to speak to the things that I am submitting to, before you shake your head. Ms. Blaudeville told my son that if he didn't wear his mask right, he was going to die like the first grader did in Minnesota. And the Office of Professional Standards found nothing wrong with that. So when I went to call the second time to let the Office of Professional Standards know, after my son told me of a second incident where this teacher told him he cannot go to mom and dad with new problems because mom and dad only have old answers. That's perversive. That's disgusting. I've been a victim of abuse as a child. You don't tell a child that they can't tell their mom and dad stuff unless you intend to tell them things they probably shouldn't be telling their mom and dad. So that's the email that I submitted to you, because I had been sick and hadn't gotten to it. But I would also like investigation into the Office of Professional Standards head person for victim gaslighting me. He told me that if my 10-year-old son could remember the exact date and the exact time that this teacher told this to him, that he wouldn't believe me, and he hung up on me. Is that what we're doing to victims? Is that how we're saying we're caring about kids? That if a 10-year-old can't remember the exact date and the exact time, then something didn't happen to them. That is what's happening in schools right now. And out of the respect for this man right here, I stopped protesting in front of the school. But I was yelling for days in front of the school so that everybody knew what Miss Blaudeville thinks is okay. I have her on video. I hope you click on that YouTube link where she says that she routinely listens to NPR on her way into school and tells the children about the stories that she hears. This is not in the curriculum. This is not what people send their kids to school for. And I hope that one day you guys will realize that we don't vote for your opinion.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hi. Oh, I thought I was short. Maybe I'm not as short as I thought I was.
It'll pick up.
I spoke to you guys last time, and maybe you remember a little bit about my background, but I just want to say couple things about transparency and inclusivity. If you really feel that labeling everybody down to the minutia of their sexuality and their race and their downtrodden status is so effective, why are these board meetings so contentious? Why is there such a lack of transparency? The more we cling to identity politics, the further away we get from each other. I don't know how this isn't evident to everyone on this board. We're all individuals. We all deserve to be judged by our individual contributions and the content of our character. I believe a very wise man one day said this, Martin Luther King Jr. You guys might know who he is. The closer we get to examining the minutia of everyone's preferences, the further away we get. I know I sound the same. I say the same thing over and over again. It's not working. It's tearing our communities apart. It's making our children hyper self-conscious and focused on things that are superficial, that have nothing to do with the content of their character. I challenge you guys, one, to be a little bit more interactive when you vote on things. It's not exactly a nail biter. Every time you guys have something that you bring up and you vote on, it's always yes. I never ever hear a no. I don't hear questions. I hear questions after the fact of things you've already voted and passed through because you didn't know the details. I mean, it's the same with everything. You have to ask questions. You have to get under the hood. You have to see what everything is about. Just because it says LGBTQ doesn't mean, oh, well, because we're defaulting into this society where one thing means right, one thing means wrong, and we're not using critical thinking to go beyond, to really think, is this the right thing? Is this the wrong thing? What are the repercussions? How will children learn? How will we make better contributors to society by implementing these things? Another thing I ask is that if you're so concerned about diversity and critical race awareness, why don't you ask people like myself who live in the community? I've already told you my story. I'm not going to go over it again. Who overcame a tremendous amount of adversity because I was Hispanic. I'm a single woman, and I've done really well for myself, and I would gladly, I'd rather be contributing my time talking to children, inspiring them, saying, hey, I did it. I had no dad. I had a single mom. I had a crappy childhood. I have a master's degree. I own a home. I'm a very happy, well-adjusted individual. I'd rather spend my time sitting in your schools telling people of my success story than sitting here always asking the same thing over and over again and bemoaning about how we feel invisible to you guys. So these are just things to chew on that I...
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Amanda. I feel like every single avenue, every single opportunity that you take, you deny God and his will. You attack the children at every chance you can. You push your sick, twisted agendas on them, on the minds of these innocent children. You've went ahead and proclaimed October as LGBTQ History Month. No regard what this does to all children. Young children who have no business learning about your perversion of what sex and their preferences are. So let's talk about it here as adults. What history on the LGBTQ do you plan to teach our children? Do you want to talk about the horrific gender assignment surgery that they're going to have to go through? Why do you loop in the trans with the LGB? This is completely different. This is a mental disorder. Gender dysphoria is awful. This causes great anguish to a very tiny percentage of the population. And while these people need support and help, you want to celebrate it and push it on innocent children who are forming their minds in a time of confusion and vulnerability. Is there anything that you did as a child that you might regret today? So I'm asking you, what history are you going to teach them? Because we know that we love to distort history and facts in our schools all across the country to fit agendas and please the overlords. So according to a long-term gender dysphoria study, suicide death risk in trans community is higher than the general population and occurs at every stage of transitioning. So pushing this on our children, when it causes irreversible damage, we're talking about life-changing irreversible treatment and surgeries focusing on the symptom and not the root. And you would be uncomfortable if I started to tell you exactly what that medical procedure looks like, involving dismemberment, skin grafts. Yeah, look down. So when people speak against this obvious attack on our children, they're canceled, labeled a transphobic bigot. And I understand why you want to sit there and say, yeah, okay, let's go on with it. But if you do not choose to stand up against our sick society, give your seat up. Stop being a coward. And I am here to remind you that everything in the world that we're trying to normalize is not normal. I am here to tell you, every single one of you, that you need to repent. Repent against the crimes that you are committing against our children, because you will be judged in the highest court. And even not believing in God is a sin that even the devil did not commit.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
No, Madam Chair, there are no more
That ends
speakers.
this portion of our meeting. Thank you all for attending.